Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be having an update on Tropical Storm Henri and also what's now Hurricane Grace as well. We got some big changes, possibly big changes on the forecast for Tropical Storm Henri. Grace is still going as forecasted as well. But let's first take a look into the National Hurricane Center outlook here, and the remains of Fred is still sticking around across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, which can bring in some more rain that could be a lot in some places, especially across parts of western Pennsylvania and into parts of central New York as well, where some places could see several inches of rain. But the biggest problem out of the remains of Fred is going to be that tornado threat, especially on the eastern side here. Really anywhere from central Virginia up into southern New York. Definitely have to watch for the tornado threat later today, which we do have a tornado watch up there, which this does include Northern Virginia, far northeastern West Virginia, a good chunk of Maryland, and also across parts of central and eastern Pennsylvania as well. A few tornadoes are possible, could be some small hail, but there's also going to be the possibility for some wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour as well. But those will be pretty isolated in nature. So if anybody that lives in the Mid-Atlantic region and parts of the Northeast, there could be some nasty weather on the way across some of those regions as well. There's going to be quite a bit of wind shear to work with. There's also going to be a decent amount of instability, so that could lead to multiple supercells that could have the chance to produce a couple tornadoes as well. So we definitely need to watch for those regions there over the next several hours there. Could be another long day up there, especially with that flash flood threat as well. Alright, so that's Fred out of the way. Let's talk about Hurricane Grace here. This is currently the strongest system. This is the second hurricane of the hurricane season. It just got upgraded to a hurricane earlier this morning. Has sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. Central pressure of 992 millibars. It's also moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. So it's moving at a decent speed there. Here's the forecast here. We're not expecting any impacts up here in the United States with Hurricane Grace, which is good news. Um, but Hurricane Grace could definitely bring some effects to the Cancun area of Mexico, and also probably later on as well. When it gets back over to the southwestern Gulf, it can re-intensify to a Category 1 hurricane again and make a second landfall and eventually die out afterwards. Maybe afterwards, we're going to see what's going to happen here, but possibly afterwards some of its remains could go to the Eastern Pacific and may turn to something else. Time will tell on that. That's pretty far out, but something like that could possibly happen there. So it's still going to be something to watch here on the system here very closely here. I do expect this to intensify a little bit more over the next several hours here. There is a little bit of dry air and a little bit of wind shear to work with as well. As you can see here, you kind of have that shrimp come ahead look here. So your main circulation is right here. You do have a decent amount of convection out there. There's a little bit of wind shear and also a little bit of dry air, so that's kind of limiting a little bit on Grace's intensification. But we still expect this to intensify throughout the day till it makes landfall, where we do have very high ocean heat content numbers and also some very warm temperatures. Here's the ocean heat content. So Grace is right here. Where it's going, you got some of the highest ocean heat content out there right now. There's another spot up in the Gulf of Mexico, but it's going to the warmest spot in the Caribbean right now. So that's going to be a big concern there. Afterwards, there's still decent ocean heat content in the southwestern Gulf, but that's also where some of the warmest waters are out there right now, where we have temperatures with 30 to 31 degrees. Some places it's at 32 degrees Celsius. That's basically bath water. Grace is approximately right here, and it's going to be going over those regions. So I definitely have some big concerns for Grace as well over the next couple of days here. So here's the GFS here. You can see there is going to be a little bit of wind shear to work with Grace here, at least on the north and northeastern side here. If you kind of check out precipitable water numbers, there is a little bit of dry air just to the north and east here. Even out ahead of the storm, there is a little bit of dry air as well, but it isn't a whole lot. It won't be enough to weaken this storm here, but then you kind of see here where it does make its secondary landfall, which by the looks of it, doesn't look like there's going to be much of any dry air out there. If we go back to wind shear, could be some wind shear on the eastern side here when you get to the southwestern part of the Gulf of Mexico, but it's still expected to intensify here. But it still won't be enough wind shear to shred this egg apart or anything. I think it'll still intensify when it gets to the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So we definitely need to watch Grace over the next couple of days here as well. But right now, Grace does not have a threat to the United States. However, there is one other system out there that does have a threat to the United States, possibly, and that's Tropical Storm Henri. And we're seeing a pretty bad trend here with the models here, shifts with the track here. It's been shifting further to the west here, bringing it closer to the east coast here, especially across parts of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, which would be the main area of concern right now with Henri. And as we check out of the National Hurricane Center outlook here, they are expecting this to become a hurricane here. And you do see that part of that cone does include parts of southeastern Massachusetts. However, the other end of the cone is still way out there in the Atlantic. There's still some uncertainties here of where the system's going to go. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of miles difference here with some of these models here, which is kind of ridiculous right now. But generally speaking here, of what we've been seeing over the past several days here, models have been trending further to the west here, especially the GFS, which, if you guys were not paying attention on here, it's been showing a pretty nasty look up here. Could be worst case scenario, which we'll check out that in a moment as well. But then again, Henri should be a system we really need to monitor here very closely here. That could bring some impacts to parts of New England states there. So let's check out Henri here. And you can see here with Henri, it's pretty organized here. Decent amount of convection going on out there right now around the main circulation there. Let's check out the tracks here with the hurricane models. And you can see here, quite a difference here. I mean, that's hundreds of miles of difference with some of these models here. Kind of crazy. But you can see here, a couple models do bring it pretty close to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Even a couple of them do show a landfall here. You got 2 miles to make a landfall. One is a temporary landfall, a little bit on the southeastern tip. So you pretty much got 3 miles showing a possibility for a landfall in some of those areas in there. Meanwhile, the rest of the miles stay out into the sea. But keep in mind, that's 3 miles out of probably like 10 to 12 other models. And you can see here, you got some models pretty far off the coast that may not bring much of any impacts out there into parts of Massachusetts. So this is definitely a system we need to monitor very closely here. But what the overall trend has been over the last several days, models have been shifting further to the west here. And we're going to see here if that trend does continue. And the GFS definitely shows that trend here. Few runs before it was way out here. Now it's getting way over here. So it's still trending further west, which is not good news at all. Here's the intensity guidance from the hurricane models. It does show a pretty concerning look here. You got pretty much 3 models bring it to a major hurricane strength. Right now, I have not much of any confidence of a major hurricane. However, I think a Category 1 hurricane seems pretty likely for the system. Maybe a low chance for a Category 2 hurricane. But when it gets to those cooler waters up there, it'll likely die down, which I'll show you guys that map there. So here's your sea surface temperatures as of right now. So Henri is approximately right here. It's expected to make a track something like this. Now, really, areas in the yellow, in the reds and oranges, that's favorable for tropical system development. However, colors in the green and the blues, that's not favorable for tropical systems. So, even though if Henri does make a run at towards Massachusetts, it'll likely die down before it gets there. So I think its maximum intensity may just be 100 miles, hundreds of miles, just off the coast of North Carolina, probably just to the east of North Carolina, which I'm thinking could be where its max intensity could be. Eventually, it'll probably die down when it gets to pretty much probably hundreds of miles east of the coast of Delaware there as well. So that's some good news at least. At least it won't rapidly intensify or anything before landfall. It'll likely die down before it makes landfall if it makes a run at there. But if it does keep it probably a further eastward track here, it'll be in those warmer waters a little bit longer. So it could become a little bit of a stronger system on a far eastward track than a westward track. So this is definitely a system we need to monitor as well. And if we check out the ocean heat content, there isn't a whole lot out there. So this could still lead to some slow development here, at least slow intensification here. Still favorable for tropical systems as well, but where those cool waters are, there's no ocean heat content out there, almost zero out there. So not really going to be favorable for tropical systems when it gets towards Massachusetts there as well. But here's the GFS ball here, and this is the worst case scenario. But the chances of this is kind of low at this point, but this is where some of the trends have been going towards. But I think this could change, so for the GFS, though. So you can see here, it does get to 970 millibars there. This is the wind shear. And you can see here, there could be some strong eastward wind shear out there. So that may keep the intensity down for Henri. But as it kind of moves further north, it does run into a little bit more wind shear as well. So I think the intensity on Henri may be a little bit limited. But you kind of see where this goes here from the GFS. It actually tries to make landfall in Connecticut here as a strong low pressure system of 979 millibars. And you can see here, what makes things even worse, it actually stays a little bit stationary off the coast there. That could lead to some major flooding problems, even along the coastline and even on inland as well, if it wants to try to stay stationary. Which the chances of this is pretty low right now. This is kind of the only model that's showing that. But it's still something to watch, though. If you look at the perceivable water numbers, there's not that much of any dry air out there. So wind shear may be your biggest hope here to make this thing here not really intensify that fast, really. But it's still a system to watch either way here. So anybody that lives in two parts of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, watch Henri because this could affect your weather later next week here, at least early next week. Looking to be the timing here. If we could check back the Dash Hurricane Center Outlook here. You can see it gets around the Massachusetts area by 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. However, those times could change here. But keep in mind here, there's also that possibility it may stay far out to sea, may stay as a fish story, and may not bring much effects at all. But you also do have that other chance that could bring us some big time effects out there or impacts. So it's still a system to watch here over the next couple of days. So again, anybody that lives in the Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island area, definitely go watch the system here very closely here. And we'll see if these balls continue to trend further west here. Hopefully we get to see a trend further to the east here that could decrease the chances for any major impacts for you guys. But anyways guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you already do like my channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions, and I see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.